Thank you again, Brittany, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it and hope you're staying safe and doing well. I think right now, one of the things that you have been such a big advocate for is using your platforms to educate people on anti-racism and white privilege and really finding ways to come together to move forward with the Black Lives Matter movement. How are you doing that? And also, I love that you're teaching your daughter Jaden to become vocal and to really get behind like an anti-racist culture.
Yeah, I think everything that happened with George Floyd, I mean, for me, I've never experienced racism in particular from a personal perspective,
Yeah.
but I know no matter the color that I can be involved and spread awareness. And I really didn't want to let my platform go to waste with all of this because I feel so strongly about it. And I really do believe that so much of racism really starts in the home
Yeah.
and what you think about it, what you view other people. So really just I asked my daughter, I'm like, it could get unsafe, but during the day, it's generally really peaceful. Do you want to go? Like, I'm going to go. You can drop, I can get her a babysitter 100% like my mom. I just was really open to her about it, but I'm like, I'm going to be involved and I would love if and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm coming. Of course. Like she, helped us make signs. She was very involved. And also being there was really empowering because everyone was there together. And she was like, Mom, that was such a incredible experience. For being 13, I was just so proud of her after. I'm like, thank you so much for, wanting to be involved and taking leadership in that too.
So how can other parents who want to get their children involved, how do they have that conversation? How do you tell your kid, what's happening isn't right and we have the power to do something?
I think just having those conversations, asking them what they feel, letting them know that everyone needs to be accepted. But I think what was really important for me when we were choosing my daughter's private school, I had the privilege of looking at different schools, interviewing different campuses, and the one that I chose as the most diverse for the area we live in. So it's nice because my daughter does have racially different friends, and I do think that makes a huge difference in how you view others growing up because you can experience hanging out with those people, and it just shapes your identity when you're in the circle of friends that you can see differently. So I think that's been a huge she's been going to that school for the past 4 years, and I feel like that's really been for her to think, Mom, why would I be racist? That's just, she just thinks it's bizarre that people are. So it's interesting. I think it really does help shape. And having those conversations, I had a conversation with my mom last night, and we've never talked about it before because it never was an issue for us as far as like me being oppressed or her being oppressed. So I think you have those conversations more if you're feeling oppressed, but if you're not, you don't think about it as much. You're not like having those
It's not on the
daily
forefront.
conversations.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
So I think just in general, just having those conversations, seeing how they feel and explaining the consequences of division or not feeling, that the love for other people. So I think it's just
Yeah,
really important to set the example.
it is. And I think I love also that you're taking your platforms such as Instagram and TikTok and sharing your resources that you found and things that you're doing to educate yourself and your family, and hopefully it's a wake-up call for others. And why is it important for anyone with like a platform, big or small, to share these resources and to be vocal about what's going on?
I think because you have such an impact, and I was talking to some of my friends about this too that don't have an Instagram following. They're just
Yeah.
my friends from growing up, and they were even saying like I would love to have a platform to be able to share more. I mean, I share it to people and like my 10 friends see it. It's not as impactful. Like obviously you can share it with your talk to people and have
Mhm.
that conversation, but if you have the platform, why not take full advantage of it right now and really say what you think and take a little bit extra time to research and make sure that the facts you're sharing are correct, or they're not just from some gossip site or like a Reddit thread. But I just think it's like you have that platform. So it comes with a little bit more responsibility of just being more cognizant of what's going on in the world. Like listen to a podcast in the morning, listen to different things that can get you more educated. If you feel like you have no idea what's going on, like make an effort to get involved.
And that's so important. I've talked about it with some of my Black friends, are like, there are so many resources out there
Yeah.
that, you know, you don't just come to us when you don't know where to look. Like there's so, like, from, like you said, there's TED Talks, there's podcasts, there's
Yeah.
books, there's TV shows, movies, you know, websites dedicated to this. So do the work. And I think,
And I was thinking too,
yeah,
it's crazy because in the 60s when they were having all the protests and the civil rights movement, there was no social media to share where these locations were happening.
right.
And I mean, I think people now are so used to getting so much of their news from social media and like spreading it. It's like, we might as well take advantage of this technology that we have that's connecting us way more. Like we can be way more impactful now than when you had landlines in the 60s and no one had cell phones.
A
Or
thousand
take
percent.
photos or videos of anything that's happening.
1,000. And
So
that's like the big, I feel like this is the social media is partly why this has
100%.
been able to spread like wildfire, and actually it has created change already.
Yeah.
So speaking
So
of
it's exciting.
Jaden, I love that you include her in all of your TikToks. Is that something
Oh,
that you guys just naturally came together? Or did she like, Mom, I want to start being in your TikToks? How did that happen?
I think what's weird is I had one of the videos in the very beginning around her birthday I posted, and I did like a little, it was a trend where, I forget the song, but it was a trend where you showed a little bit of what happened for a story, and I
Is it
showed little
and it
pictures.
went like?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I did that one for her birthday. I honestly felt bad because I posted some fashion one they already had scheduled. And I was running around I'm like, oh my God, I should have done a TikTok for her birthday. Didn't plan this ahead, but just like quickly, like what's the quickest one that I can do like pictures for? Because she's at school. She's not going to film anything with me,
Right.
So I put that together and the response was crazy. Like it did so well. Like so many people shared it. They reached out to me after. I'm like, that's so bizarre. Like I assumed people on here knew that I had a daughter because my Instagram was connected, and I just never really shared her on TikTok as much because there's no stories on TikTok. It's very much like more entertainment than social
Yeah.
media. So after that, she was like, oh my gosh, Mom, I picked her up from school. She's like, so many of my friends said you were on the For You page after school. I'm like, what? She's
That's
never
so
said that
funny.
about Instagram once to me, but she was so impressed that we were on the For You page. I'm like, so after that day, I was like, do you want to do like a fashion video with me? I mean, now obviously people are they know a little bit more about my story, and they saw a few pictures of you. She's like, yeah, let's do it. So in the beginning, I was very much like, let's just do fashion, beauty, and I'll just keep her. I didn't want to put more pressure on her to be filming or doing any videos because she has a busy schedule already with school. And this just kind of came naturally out of that one video. And then we started from there.
How does she love it? Or
Yeah, I mean, with quarantine too, because she was home from school, we definitely did a lot more videos. It would have never been that many if she had a regular schedule still. She would get up early and she would get all her stuff and she's like, hey,
oh,
let's make videos. Like she loved it.
she's on
Not
it.
not the fact that like she had to be at home for that reason, but we definitely made the most of our time while we were at home. And she would always send me links to different ideas, brainstorm. So I feel like it's been such a fun way to spend more time with her with just being creative. So it's been really
And
fun.
I think maybe it's the video you're talking about. You had her when you were 19.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
So
Which,
actually, I just turned 20 and I
when
had
you
her.
just turned 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So how was it being a single mom and also like building a career? I commend you so much for that.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it was super difficult for me because in particular, I never wanted to have kids or get married. So those weren't goals that I ever had for myself. I know a few of my friends just in college were like, I want to get married by graduation. And
Yeah.
that was just not my thing at all. And so I actually got pregnant with my first boyfriend, which is just like, one of those things you're like, that would never happen to me. But I think that's why I had way more empathy after this happened, because I always thought like that kind of thing, getting pregnant young doesn't happen to people like me. I always had that mentality, not even knowing, just when it happened, I realized it, if that makes sense. I was like, wow, I don't have empathy for teen moms, or I don't have empathy for people who go through hard times because I've never gone through a hard time. So I think that was like really humbling for me. And I think too that my parents really came alongside me and were like, if you, whatever decision you want to do, I really struggle with all my decisions. They're like, we'll support you no matter what, but don't just like make a decision because you want to hide it from someone, or you want to, you know, you're scared of, like, we can help you if, you know, watch the baby, or if you want to, you know, you're still going to do college. So I think having that was super helpful, because I was like, what do I want if I can still go to school and I'm not going to be homeless. Like, I know some people face so many harder decisions and like so many, you know, different scenarios. But for me, I just started to get really protective of her, which is weird because I didn't think I would get maternal. And that really changed it for me. I'm like, no, I want to have a baby. I want to be the best mom I can. So after I finished college, I got a job I was a political science major. I was pre-law and I was very on the track for law school, but I interviewed quite a bit of attorney moms to see like, what is it actually like with your work schedule? Because I was finally getting a routine where I was like, okay, I just graduated. I was working full time, going to school full time. So I had graduated. I'm like, wow, I have a little bit less school time. Like now it's just like, I can work and actually have like a weekend off. And that was really nice for me too, because I had been working and no days off basically for the time I was in college. And so it was really refreshing. When I graduated, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to work for a year and like really get my foot in the door and feel this out, and then plan if I want to go to law school. So definitely my heart changed after I was working, because I was making pretty good money. The company I was working for had very good hours for being a mom. So that was really like hard for me to think about, you know, just going back to full law school. It was just hard for me to think about like, okay, now I'm going to be 4 years of back to how I was. But then I started working and, you know, I just had enjoying that time with her. I was fine with being single. I wasn't dating. I was just, you know, I was like very focused on her and working. And I met I met my husband, my now husband, when she was 3. So yeah, so I worked for those years, and I just like also too, it's funny because when people reach out like, oh, you know, I want to get married so much, I'm like, I enjoyed like being single, not like dating single, but like just being single,
actually
like
being alone.
myself.
Yeah, and doing your own thing.
Yeah. So I really look back to those times. Those were such like formative years for me and her, obviously too. Just figuring out like what I wanted, like who I was as a mom and a businesswoman. So it really, like, even though it was like really hard time, it definitely shaped me to so much of my work ethic, my time management that I have now. But yeah, like skipping forward. So my daughter was 3, and then I'm trying to like, what year is it? 2020.
Yeah, we're like in this
like,
weird year called 2020.
And we got married when she was 6. So started the blog like maybe 2 months after we got married. And we only started it because I was reading wedding blogs so often while we were planning.
Oh my God.
I was doing so much DIY, like planning the location. Everything was off blog reviews is where I found everything. And that was actually my first experience even reading a blog. I had never read blogs before. I didn't even really know that there was a whole culture behind them.
Was this like 8 years ago? When was this? 8 years ago?
This was in we got married in 2013. So
okay. So
all of 2012, basically, I was reading them.
So you weren't on Instagram yet, even?
No. I mean, I had my personal account, but I wasn't like doing outfits. Yeah. No. So we started. So after we had been planning for the year and it was very busy, we were going to just different shops to like get all like the glassware we wanted. So all year we basically planned our wedding, and it was amazing. But after, we're like, oh, we have so much free time because we were doing so much DIY and like making things. And so after, that's basically where I was like, I would love to have a blog where I could still be sharing my life, but not, obviously it's nothing related to weddings, but it could have a simple format. So we really started brainstorming. I'm like, I would love to like still take pictures and document. It could even be like a memory book for Jaden. You know, I just was like brainstorming. I'm like, I love the idea of reading the blog every night. So that's where that whole idea came from. And it really just started to snowball from there. Like I kept seeing my readership go up. So then I got really into the analytics of the whole website, like the bounce rate, everything, the click through, everything that I was finding where the different websites were coming from, who was linking to my items or linking to my blog posts. So I got really involved in the analytics and realized like I need to be promoting it on my Instagram to get people like more on my blog, like have another resource of ways to advertise for it basically. So when I first started my Instagram, I remember being like, every one of my blog posts was like new on the blog, and every one of my Instagram posts was like new on the blog. I never shared anything personal. It was just to promote my blog.
So it was always like new on the blog. Was it
Always.
like a typography post?
No, it was so we would shoot different outfits for the blog. So it was
Got
always
it.
just a blog photo, like a professional looking. It wasn't like an Instagram look photo at all. It was
Right.
very like blurred background.
Yeah. I
Total
remember
blog.
those.
Yeah. I would do a lot of side by sides, like outfits. So that's basically how it started. And we just got really invested in figuring out what works, what doesn't. We tested a lot of different theories, and I submitted my outfits to different accounts, and I won different contests for, different like outfit accounts they were doing. And it really just trickled from there. And I mean, my husband is he's so beyond amazing. He's so smart, and he's helped me build my website. He's very much like such a hard worker. And I honestly think that's why we've been so successful, is because we were able to learn to work together, but also like, this is my part I'm doing. This is his part. Like we try not, at first we were butting heads a lot. We were working together.
So when you started your blog, you still had a full-time job.
Yeah. So I was still working, and so was he. And we would always do it night and weekends. We'd stay up really late. We'd say no to our friends going out, because we always wanted to have all 5 blog posts ready to go by Monday. So we wanted to make sure to like shoot everything. And we'd get up really early to shoot, so Jaden wouldn't have to get up, and she could like sleep in, and we'd go outside and just like do it really quick. And then I change and I go, some of my first photos are like in the alleyway that we like, and in front of my garage. So
Right.
like, we didn't know. We were just like, oh, there's a wall. Perfect. So we would do that, and we were very committed to it, which even when I look back, I'm like, I can't believe we like never skipped a day. We were just very much
Consistent,
so focused on it. Yeah.
Day after day.
And I think too, because once my friends found out, and I was trying not to have any of my friends find out, I was like super embarrassed because I didn't know like what to say I was doing. It was just like outfits, and I remember that Facebook had sent out some, when it like connects when you get a new account on Instagram, and it's like,
and it tells you your
yes,
friend is on Instagram or whatever, Facebook as so and so. Yeah.
So it sent it out weirdly 2 months later after I had started. And I remember Anthony being like, hey, what's the notification that I just got for your account? Like, your Instagram account. I'm like, what do you mean? I was so uncomfortable, because all my friends, like growing up, my cousins, like everyone was like, hey, what is this? I got this notification. It's so cute. Like, but they didn't know what it was,
Right.
It's like, oh, you have this whole other Instagram account that no one knew about.
So you had a personal, and then you created the blog one.
Yeah. And my blog name was Thrifts and Threads before I changed it to my name. Like I changed it probably 2.5 years ago. But in the very beginning, it was Thrifts and Threads. So when they got the notification, they were like, why do you have this other name for your Instagram? What are you doing? Are you modeling? I'm like, well, it was just hard to explain, because none of my friends at that time really had followed other people doing it. It wasn't as popular, I would say, or as well known. So like, what are you doing it for? It was very interesting. But then I think after that, I was like, hey, everyone knows. I don't need to be embarrassed. Like, I'm just doing this. I really love doing it. And at first, though, it was definitely like I was worried about what people were going to think about it, because I didn't even know how to fully explain it. I just knew we were getting some commissions from the website, and we were like, month after month, the readership was going up. And also people reaching out to me for clothes. So that was like a huge incentive for me to keep going. So it was just like, I didn't want to explain all that to everyone who didn't understand.
You're like,
oh,
it's just a hobby.
Like, I'm like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, cool.
So when did you were working as a marketing director or executive, right?
Yeah, an executive, but as an insurance firm in Pasadena.
Gotcha. And so then were you like, okay, like it's time to quit this job. I'm going full time into this blog.
So basically I tracked my income for 3 months, and I said, once I hit making more than what I was making there with insurance, with my 401k, and just like the budget that I had already like set aside for myself as far as like when I got a raise and everything. So I was really safe about it. I said, you know, I want 3 months of this before I quit. And 2 months in, my husband's like, okay, it seems like it's doing well. And like, you're going in that same direction. And also I was actually having to turn down different PR firms in LA are reaching out to me to come in. But I was like, oh, I work till 6. I come in after?
They're like,
They're
no.
like, we're gone.
Yeah.
So I was getting a lot of that face-to-face time that I wasn't able to have just because I was like, well, I can try to get off a little early, but it's just, it was hard. I was definitely turning down a lot. And so we talked about it, and it was exciting because he was so supportive of me too. He's like, you know, I think you could be a lot more efficient if you didn't have to do the full-time job too, plus do this on the weekends and nights. So I quit about a year and a half after I started my blog. I quit my full-time job a year and a half. So, I mean, it definitely took a while to get the income going. And that's why I think people honestly just give up a few months in. They're like, wait, I'm not making money from this. It's like in the beginning, no, it's a struggle, but
with anything you have to
totally
put in the work. And
yeah.
then,
I mean, honestly, if anyone told me that I'd be doing this when I had first started, I would have never believed it, because when we started out, it was so much for a hobby and just like a fun, and if we made extra cash, that'd be amazing, but like didn't know the full extent. So I think it's just crazy, like how much has honestly changed in 7 years. It's insane.
so you quit a year and a half after you started. And then from there, did things just blow up because you were able to put all your time into it?
Well, actually that year after I quit in the May, that November or September, it was during Fashion Week basically. So I won this contest where it was Blog Loving used to do this award called Breakthrough Blog of the Year or something. I literally don't remember the title. Breakthrough Blog of the Year. And so I was one of the finalists. So one of the finalists were flown out by the team. And so I got to go to Fashion Week. So that was my first experience with even Fashion Week, but I was only going to be there for 2 days. I wasn't planning on doing Fashion Week, but I was already there. So I was like, oh, maybe I should, you know, have some meetings or like see some of the PR people in New York that had reached out to me and thought I lived in New York. But, you know, I was like, oh, now I'm there. I can do some FaceTime and meet different people I wanted to meet. But I ended up winning that award. And that award was, so the finalists were picked by the team, but then all 3 finalists were voted on. So my followers had voted for me to win. So then after that, I got my manager, someone reached out to me, and it was just like this whole thing kind of like catapulted from there, because I was way more motivated too after it, because I saw more of that progress. I was like, wow, people voted for me to do this. Like they're literally so invested in reading my blog every day. Like that was so inspiring to me. And I just like kept wanting to be better, especially for my readers. And my following at that time, I think was like at 70,000. Like I was still really invested, but it wasn't nearly like, I mean, the people that had followed me had like followed me from like when I first started,
right.
You know? So it was exciting. And I think after that, I told my husband, I'm like, oh, I want to figure out Fashion Week more. Like that was so much fun. I literally had no idea what I was doing. I went to a couple shows, but I was just so inspired after that trip. And that was really the turning point. And when I was like, okay, I need to get really strategic about this. Like, what am I doing? You know, I'm making money, but like, I need to figure out like, what's my game plan, you know? So that was a lot of just like strategy and like having those meetings with my manager and being like, okay, I did not think this was going to be my full-time job. Now that it is, I want to make it like my business. So.
And how do you go? I mean, I know it's different than when you first started, but how were you approaching the brands yourself, or were they approaching you to do like campaigns and collabs?
So when I first started, I was really good about, I would get items from whoever I really loved and I would just tag them. So I would wear the clothes, I would tag them. And then because a lot of the times then brands were reposting a lot of content that people were tagging for them. So that was also my incentive, was like, oh, I want to get reposted on their page. But I don't know if it's as much the same now where they're consistently reposting, you know, before people didn't have teams or strategies for that. But I do think that really helps. And I do think it helps showing that you like the brand, like just wearing it I mean, you can send them an email, reach out, especially if like you're just starting. A brand's going to wait to see if you like have that consistency. You know, it's like hard to reach out to someone and be like, hey, I want to work. And you have like 4 photos on your page. But it just, I think that really helped me in the beginning because brands were reaching out to me in the beginning. And then also when I got the manager, that helps too, because then that filters through people reaching out via them and then also through me as well. So I do think it does help to have someone that also knows the benchmark of what other people are charging and where you should be at, and just also being like very transparent with reading the contracts too. So
has it been difficult going down this path? I know it's so fun and it can be seen glamorous to so many people, but has it ever have there been times when you're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, or this is like getting difficult, or like there's like resistance at any point?
After I got back from that trip, I was like super motivated, but I was also taking on so much. And I remember taking on a job that I wasn't like fully 100% about. And after, I was like really pushing back, like, I don't think I should do this anymore. But at that point I couldn't pull out because I had already committed and I already said yes. And I remember I was like having a breakdown and my daughter was like, Mom, I don't want to go to daycare. I really want you to still do this job. Because she was like, before she was at daycare.
Gosh.
So when I had quit and was working from home, that she correlated my blog with not having to go to daycare. So I thought that was like so eye-opening, because I'm like, no matter what I'm doing, like I have to realize that I'm doing this because I'm able to be at home with her and I'm able to make my own schedule and be my own boss. But that also really woke me up. I was like, I'm never going to work with a brand again that like I don't feel 100% about, or I would already wear or love. So I think that was a really good learning point for me to be like, I'm not going to just do something for the rate. Like it was tempting, especially then because I just started and I was like, it was fun to make more money, but that was like, no matter what, I'm not doing that again. Because it was just like so stressful.
Yeah, if it's not authentic to you, then it's not worth the money.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So right now, we obviously have 2020 has taken a big turn for everyone, and the pandemic, everyone's been at home. Did you join TikTok before quarantine?
Yeah, so I joined it in November.
Okay.
And I only joined it because my daughter was spending so much screen time. I monitor her screen time, making sure what different apps she goes on and her weekly allowance for different apps she can use. And the funny thing is I didn't have any screen time for TikTok because I didn't know what it was. And I had not set any limits. I'm like, what? Why are you on this for like 4 hours on the weekend? Like, what are you doing? So she's like, no, it's like videos. They're like funny,
Yeah.
She was trying to show me, like, I look at the dog ones, she was like going through it. So then I downloaded because I wanted to see like what she was doing or what she was posting, because I had seen that she had posted all these videos of like lip syncing ones with her friends. I'm like, when are you guys filming this? Like I had no idea. Like they were in their room like filming like these random little videos. So, and they were all like fine and appropriate. That's what I was worried about. But so yeah, so I downloaded it and I just spent like an hour kind of just scrolling through. I'm like, wow, this is so addicting. I can see how you can just like get sucked in. But also I realized there wasn't that many fashion or beauty videos on there. So I was like, interesting. Like this is a whole different audience for me. It's Gen Z. It's very, they're very engaged, a little bit younger. I mean, there's definitely some older people on there too, but generally it's like a little bit younger audience. And so I just tried to think of ways. I'm like, oh, I guess I can do just like different outfits to music and I can put text. Like I just really played with the app. And it was slow beginning at first because it was just like, okay, this is weird. I never promoted it on Instagram. I was just like, I'm just going to stick to TikTok with this just to like see if it works. And also I didn't have any followers really. So I was like, what am I going to promote? I'm like doing these random videos, And so the nice thing about TikTok is that each video you post goes into the For You page, and then it continues to go if people spread it and continue to view it. So the nice thing about it is that it doesn't depend on your followers, how many people are viewing it. It really just depends on how good each video is or how like engaging, if there's a hook in the beginning. So when I really started figuring that out, I feel like my videos really started to take off because it wasn't about promoting it to get other people, because regardless if that video doesn't spread, it's not going to do anything anyway. So it's fun because it's a different algorithm that I can play with and have fun with and experiment with, but it's also more casual. So I don't have to be as curated, and I'm like in a sweatshirt half the time and I'm doing some of my videos. So it was kind of a refreshing take, especially during quarantine, because everyone was so casual and we were all at home, and I didn't have to be at a cool, backdrop or in some
Right.
different city. I just literally was like in the wall in my living room.
And that's what
So
people wanted. They wanted to
totally,
see what people were doing at home.
100%. So it actually came I had gotten it down by the time quarantine had happened. I was doing videos every day during Fashion Week on TikTok. So when quarantine started, everyone started getting TikTok, and I was like, I already have like my routine down. I would already get up early, film videos. Like for me, it was just like, I'm already doing it. It
So
was
how early
easier.
do you get up to, what's your TikTok schedule?
Well, so usually what I like to do once a week is film 5 videos on one day, but depending on my schedule or depending on how many calls I have that day, like if I can get 3 in a day, then I'll do that. But I like to get up at 6 a.m. just so I can get ready by 7. I'm ready to go. And once I have the lighting set up and the lighting is kind of the main thing at the setup. Once it's set up, you can just kind of keep going and change your outfits. It's a lot easier to do the initial setup and just do 5 videos for me. But other people think that it's harder that way because you have to brainstorm all your ideas in advance.
Right. And is Jaden waking up at 6 a.m. too?
No. So
Okay.
no, well, for quarantine, now she's in summer, but she's still
Yeah.
she'll sleep until noon. But for school, she had to be up every day ready to go for school by 8:30 because she still did all the classes online. So for any videos with her, like if I try to have like 2 videos a week or 3 videos a week with her, then we film that all after she was done with her homework and everything. So the ones for me were like the ones in the morning that very instructional ones that she wouldn't be able to help me with. So.
Got it. And if
Yeah.
someone's trying to join TikTok now, it's still not too late. It's definitely not as saturated or
No.
as Instagram. What like advice would you give them if they want to take it seriously?
I would definitely say have a schedule because it does help. They take a little bit more time to plan and go through. So if you have the schedule, you have the idea of what you want to film, it's much easier than waking up and being like, what do I do today? What do I film? Yeah. Also really spending time on the app because there's a whole other culture on TikTok as far as like what's trending, what videos, what people are replicating like different songs with. And if you just jump on the app and you try to create a video off of like something you saw a month ago, it's going to be old news. Like it's already an old trend. Like the thing is the trends, like you really want to be ahead of the trends on TikTok because they're spreading more. They're higher on the people's search. So I think it's very much more trend focused than Instagram per se. So I think that spending time on there, you just get inspired and you're like, oh, this song, I've heard it 3 times. It's for sure trending, even though it's not in the trending section, if that makes sense. So
Right. Because
it will be soon.
Yeah. You have to like kind of foreshadow what's going to. Okay. Well, that's a whole other.
That's like super helpful.
Yeah. TikTok. So, and now you have like collectively like 4 million followers. Where do you think, especially right now, this year has kind of shown that everything, we're not able to go on trips or events or, fashion weeks are probably canceled at least for a little bit. Where do you think the future of being an influencer and a blogger, where do you think that's going?
I think that brands are really going to want to see more of that conversion rate and really see if you can push a product or what your audience is. Your audience really trusts you. You could have like a really cool factor. You could have, all the aesthetic, and then you could be the one creating the photos for the brands that are actually posting them. But I think that it's because brands are going to be struggling a little bit more. They're going to want people that have that close relationship with the audience and who convert. So I mean, that's literally just me thinking from a brand perspective and just different conversations I've had. But I think it's just being well-rounded is really, really helpful during this time. And TikTok for me has been super helpful just in my Instagram growth. Like it's definitely helped people find me on TikTok. They're coming onto my Instagram. And that's also just made it stronger for me. My engagement's gone up during quarantine. I do think it's definitely because people were at home and they were more engaged for sure. But it was definitely higher than the average. So I feel like it had to have been from TikTok. That was the only thing I was doing really different.
Yeah.
And I knew on different days where I had a high spread video on TikTok, it would correlate to my higher following on Instagram. So it definitely was like the patterns were all like connected. So I think that like TikTok really has helped me just like build a stronger platform, but also just reach an audience that are going to be buying soon. And also their parents are looking at what they want. My daughter, I've literally had to get her so many things just because she found on TikTok.
On TikTok, yeah.
And she'll save, and I do the same. Like I go through that whole Amazon, like where they do all the top tips from Amazon. And it's just like, I find the coolest things on there because of that. So I think it's just the future is we're going to have to be able to create, you can't be reliant on like creating like a very pretty photo like at the beach, because you may not be able to do that for a while. Or like if you do, you have to do it safer, and it might not be like the same frequency as how many times you're going a year than before. So I think it's just been nice to experiment with more like shooting at home, like where in my neighborhood can I shoot that's like close by. I've had to think of so many different things I've never thought of before, because half the time I was always doing meetings in downtown or West Hollywood, and we would shoot around there. But this whole time I'm like, okay, I want a different couch because I want to take more photos of my couch, you know? So it's just been so different.
I've been like, I need a new mirror. I need like a new like floor mirror. Like I think I bought pampas flowers all over. Like,
and it's so funny because before I would travel so much and I never thought about like really making like the place I live in like home. And if I was never into interior decorating, like, because I don't know how to do it also. Like I don't have an eye for it. I get overwhelmed. There's so many different options. I save all these photos and I'm like, okay, so now when I buy the lamp, which one am I going to buy? Like, no. So for me, I don't want to do that. Like, I definitely would have to work with someone for that. But it's really inspired me to be like, what do I want in a home? And like, where do we want to live long-term? Like, because if we're going to be home now, I actually want a backyard. Before I never wanted a backyard.
Oh, you have no idea. Like I feel trapped.
Yeah.
I feel so trapped. I'm like, like a dog. Like I was like, I need to go outside and I need to run around.
And even just having a pool for me, I always thought, I grew up with a pool and my parents were always, you know, clean. I always thought it was a hassle, even though we would use it in the summer, but I always thought the upkeep was so much they were always getting stuff for it. I'm like, oh, I don't want a pool later on. But now I'm like, okay, we actually probably would need a pool, because then Jaden can swim out there and I can be outside doing work. It's like, it just helps you mentally being outside a little bit more, especially in LA. So
yeah, I 1,000% agree.
This has been this has made me rethink all the values I thought I held for myself.
Yeah, it's definitely I've even thought about moving. I'm not from LA, and I always, when I moved here, I was like, I'm a diehard, like never leaving. Yeah. But this has made me think like, okay, like what if I want to go somewhere, you know, still in Southern California, but like outside of LA? Yeah. Because like, if we're not going to events or taking meetings, it's like.
No. And one of my friends too, they're in New York and they've been there for a couple of years. And they're like, hey, I'm moving to LA at the end of August. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you guys were so into New York. Like, but they would go out all the time.
New York is having an exodus right now.
I know. Like, they're like, we can't do it anymore. Like, it's just too hard to be cooped up without a backyard. Like, we need to be out and about. And also, like, you're so much more crowded there when you're out. Like, if you take the subway, it's a little bit more, they're worried about Corona, but it's just, this whole year has just been turned upside down. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we're healthy as we figure out our backyard plans.
Definitely. That's the thing just to keep in mind, is just the health has been, such a blessing for sure.
And where can people find you, Brittany? Where can they connect with you if they aren't already following you on TikTok or Instagram?
So my Instagram handle is just my name, Brittany Xavier. And my TikTok handle is Brittany.Xavier, because someone already had the other name.
Really?
Yeah. And at the beginning, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. So I didn't take it very seriously. And I just was like, oh, I'm going to post. But then at this point, I had linked to the page so much that I'm like, I just got to keep it the dot in between.
Yeah, I was like, you could ask to get it, but yeah.
Yeah, at that point, I was like, I had linked to so many different swipe up things for it, and it would all be gone. So I was like, I'm not going to. So I still have the dot.
Well, check her out, guys. Her videos they're fun, they're engaging, informing. I love all the skincare ones. I went and.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, love it.
It's so fun to be on here. Thank you for having me.